guys, welcome back to my channel. I feel a little out of sorts, if I'm going to be honest. I have not filmed in like 2 weeks. A lot of the past videos that you've seen have been pre-filmed because I went out of town. I was so busy I couldn't get one up on Tuesday. Sorry about that. So I'm like trying to get back in the swing of things. So we're just gonna jump right into it, and I am going to be doing a foundation review today. This is the Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue foundation. I'm going to go ahead and pull my hair back and we're going to jump right in to the demo. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the foundation itself. I purchased mine off of Namie's Beauty Supply, which is like a beauty emporium in Los Angeles, and I bought it there because I have a pro discount there. You can currently get it at Ulta, Namie's, and Dose of Colors. Those are the three main ones that I know of. This foundation retails for $36. It is 1 ounce. Now the Ulta app has it at 5.4 ounces. Do not be fooled. This is the typical 1 ounce that you get in most foundations. So this is the first foray into complexion that I'm aware of that Dose of Colors has done. So I was super excited to try this, especially since it's alcohol and fragrance free, which are my two kind of big no-nos when it comes to foundation, at least for me personally. And this claims to be a lightweight foundation with medium to full coverage that delivers a blurring effect which reduces the appearance of fine lines and skin imperfections. It's vegan, cruelty-free, talc-free, paraben-free, oil-free, and fragrance-free. So again, it's $36, which I feel like is a nice price point for a foundation. I don't feel like it's luxury price point. It's definitely not drugstore. It's kind of right there in the middle. And there are 42 color options. The color that I got is 117 light medium, which on the Ulta app is described as light to medium skin tones with a neutral undertone. So that's the color I got. This is a very liquidy well, okay, I don't want to say that. It's not a thick foundation, so I like to shake it up. And before we get started, we'll just kind of take a look at what my skin looks like. I have been out and about. It's currently like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I have been to doctor's appointments and the grocery store and all sorts of places. So you can see what my skin looks like normally with nothing on. In fact, I haven't even put my color corrector on, which I need to do. But this is the redness that I'm dealing with. Typically it will go down my face in a stripe, so we'll be able to see how it covers that. And this one freckle right over here is kind of my gauge for how full a coverage a foundation is. If it can cover that nicely, then that is going to be nice and full coverage. I do have a couple of healing breakouts on my nose. Other than that, I don't have much that I want to cover up. So we're going to see how it does mostly on this spot and that redness. So if you are new to my channel, I very rarely do first impression reviews. That's why you have likely seen a multitude of reviews on this foundation so far. Even though it's a fairly new launch, I do not buy a foundation and then do a review on it that day or even that next day. I'm not going to say I've never done it because I have for a couple, but I try to try out a foundation for many days in a row using many primers and many powders and many application techniques and tools so that I can tell you the best way from my experience that it performs. So that's why this is a little bit late going up, because I have been testing this for about 5 or 6 days now, so I can give you a full overview of its performance. So I am going to do 1/2 of my face with a beauty blender and 1/2 of my face with a brush. I will go ahead and tell you this foundation needs absolutely no more than 1 pump, especially for your first round or your first layer. Now I understand there are people out there who need more coverage than myself. If that's the case, I would still start out with 1 pump. You will see a little bit goes a very long way with this foundation. And then I would either go in with your concealer or just a tad bit more foundation only in the areas that you need it. I find a lot of times that people will try foundation and they go straight in with like 2 pumps and they automatically say, oh, it looks awful on my skin. They write the foundation off and never try it again, when honestly, probably the problem with it was the fact that too much was used. And it could be the best foundation formula in the world. If you use too much, it's just not gonna look good on the skin. So I suggest starting out with 1 pump. I have never used in the 6 days that I've tried this more than 1 pump. That's all I need. So I'm going to take 1 pump. I'll show you how much comes out and the consistency. So you can see it is running down my hand, but it's not like super watery, but it's not thick enough to where it's not going to run down the hand. So I'm going to take just a little bit and I'm going to tap it all over this side of my face. I'm going to take my It Cosmetics Heavenly Luxe Complexion Perfector number 7 brush, and I'm going to stipple. I'm not a fan, personally, of buffing a foundation in. I find that that causes a lot of streaks, and I don't know, I just feel like it doesn't look as good. So I just like to stipple and stamp, and this brush really does like that. Oh, my heavens, you can tell I haven't filmed in a while. This brush really does that nicely. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you can see how easy that was, A, to blend out, and B, how nicely it covered my redness. So got this side with no foundation, this side with foundation. What I like the most is this color match is very nice, but also I feel like it is a solid natural finish foundation. You can see it's not overly matte, but it's also not overly luminous or dewy. There is a time and place for that. Y'all know I like to glow, but I also appreciate a foundation that is going to lend itself to a natural skin finish. That way you can put the glow where you want to and not have it where you don't want it. So I really appreciate that kind of finish, and I feel like this actually gives that. Now let's go ahead and go into the other side and use a sponge. I do have a little red area up here. We're going to see how it covers that up. And I'm going to use my e.l.f. Beauty Sponge, and I'm just going to press that into the skin. And just like that, that easy. I covered up this redness right here. I still see a slight bit of my redness. That's a little bit typical. I will say I have a lot of other foundations that apply way sheer or way more sheer with a beauty blender as opposed to a brush. This one I feel like it's just a tad bit less coverage, which makes me say that I really like the beauty blender and the brush pretty equally. It just depends on, you know, what I'm feeling like that day. I am going to take a little bit more and put it right here and stipple it in with a brush and see if I can get a little bit more coverage on my red spots. But I don't want to forget that I am going in with concealer after this. So, you know, if there's something that I really don't want to show, I can go over it with concealer. However, you can see that that covered up that spot pretty nicely. I mean, I can still see it. Really, the like highest coverage foundations don't cover up that spot. I'm going to take a little bit on the nose. And then this is how much I have left on my hand. That's like half of a pump worth. So really I only used about half of a pump. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of what's remaining on the back of my hand and just blend it down my neck. Just to make everything kind of blend into one. And even doing that, I have a little bit left on my hand. So that just shows you how highly concentrated this foundation is. So let me see if I can see if that helps a little bit. You can see on the skin, I don't feel like, I didn't even touch on the fact that I didn't use a primer today. I wanted to show you how it worked without one. I don't feel like my pores are any more visible than normal. There is this one little spot on my face I've talked about before that doesn't like to hold product sometimes. Can't you see it? It's like right there. What in the world? But other than that, I think it's very skin-like. It is very lightweight, especially considering I did not use very much. So it doesn't feel heavy on the skin. So that's it right now. I'm going to finish up my makeup and I will come back on to give you my final thoughts. Okay, makeup is done. I used the Too Faced Primed and Poreless Skin Smoothing Pressed Powder. I have used the Well People powder. I have used, what other powder have I used? The Chanel powder. I have used the Elsie pressed powder. I've used quite a few powders with it. I have also used primers with it. Even though I didn't use a primer today, I have used the First Aid Beauty, the Color Science, the Jane Iredale, all my normal primers. And typically in foundation reviews like this, I will kind of go through all the primers and powders that I used together so that I can tell you what my favorite combo was. But with this one, honestly, I don't have a favorite combo because it truly works with everything I have tried it with. Like, no questions asked. It really has not looked any different. Even when I don't wear a primer, it doesn't look any different. It doesn't last a shorter amount of time. Now, I don't have excessively oily skin, so, you know, with that, you may need to use a primer to help keep the oils at bay. But for me, I just don't feel like it made that much of a difference. And no matter what powder I used, it didn't really make much of a difference either. Which is a huge plus in my book. If a foundation works with everything, I don't even have to think about it. I just use it. And knowing it's going to look good no matter what is a good thing, in my opinion. So this is what it looks like on this skin. Everything, you know, blends over it nicely. I don't have any cream bronzer or blushes on today. However, I have used them in the past with no issues. You know, it doesn't pull, it doesn't move, it doesn't not blend with certain formulas. I mean, it just doesn't. It works well with everything. So because it's later on in the afternoon, and because I have done something seriously wrong to my hip to where, I mean, it's getting better, but like a couple days ago, I could not walk. Like Chad had to help me get like up off the couch and like help me sit down. Like it was bad. I don't know what I did. Because of that, I'm not doing excessive workouts this week. I'm trying to let it heal. So I'm not going to do any kind of check-in like I normally do because I'm not going to really be sweating during my workout, and because it's so late in the afternoon, I'm not going to give you a full day's worth of wear anyways. But I will say, if you can just take my word on it, this lasts all day on me, no questions asked. I have worn it for 16 hours and one of the days that I wore it, and it absolutely did fine. It did not patch off. It does not sink into smile lines. Just looks good. And I will say, y'all are so sweet, and you're like, oh, any foundation is going to look good on your skin, but I promise you, I can tell when a foundation does not work for me and when it does. And I have had plenty of foundations that don't work for me. This one does. So as far as like who can wear it and who can't, I really don't know that any skin type particularly is going to not work with this foundation. Now, I am not typically a believer of saying a foundation is going to work for every skin type no matter what. I do think if you have excessively dry skin, like to where you have actual visible patches, this might not be the best for you, because I would not call this a hydrating foundation. It does not feel tight or drying, but it also does not feel hydrating. So I don't know that it's really going to benefit anybody that has excessive dry patches on their face. Otherwise, if you have normal to even slightly dry, just in the feeling of tightness, to combination skin, I think it's going to work absolutely wonderful. If you have super oily skin, I can't speak to that because I haven't used it on a super oily client and I don't have oily skin. But I will say, I truly believe that if you prep accordingly for your oily skin and be sure and set your foundation, it would be fine. Now, on that note, I will say that I rarely ever say this about a foundation, what I'm about to say, because I'm a huge proponent for setting your foundation, even if you have drier skin, as long as you're using the right powder, because I just find that everything else blends on top of it better. This, I don't necessarily think that if you have dry skin or you just have a true affinity against powders for any reason, I don't really think you need to set this. It dries down to such, again, like a skin-like finish. It's not tacky. It doesn't transfer for me. Like, it's just so nice when it dries down. I just don't feel like you truly need to set it. So if you're someone who absolutely despises powder, because I know there's a lot of y'all out there, and you don't use it, you don't like the way it looks, I don't think you necessarily need one with this foundation. Now, unfortunately, I don't know for sure, but I don't think Dose of Colors is in the Ulta stores. If it is, I'm pretty sure it's not in all of them. I don't typically go into stores. I much prefer to online shop. But if you aren't able to actually like swatch this, find your right color, I will say the Dose of Colors website has a great color guide, really explains every color, shows it on different skin types. And then Trend Mood has plenty of swatches on her Instagram. I would suggest looking into that and ordering off that way, and just maybe ordering it from Ulta since they have free returns if for any reason it doesn't work for you, because I know a lot of people are not very eager to buy something they cannot see or swatch in store first, and I totally get that. But I do feel like the color explanations are pretty spot on, considering that this is a great match for me right now. And I just went off of the explanations of the colors and the swatches that I saw on Trend Mood. So hopefully that helps. But in the grand scheme of things, I think you could probably tell this gets a double thumbs up for me and an A++. I'm really enjoying it. Super lightweight, lasts all day, doesn't accentuate anything I don't want it to accentuate, and just looks very nice. on the face. So hopefully you enjoyed this probably a little bit faster foundation review than I typically do, but I feel like I covered all the bases. If I didn't, please let me know down in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer anything I can. And if you are someone who has tried this foundation, let us know what your thoughts are, even if they're completely opposite of mine. I love to hear everybody's thoughts down in the comment section as well. So thank y'all so much for watching. If you haven't already, be sure and like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I hope y'all all go out and have a very blessed day.